We are going to start weaving today. We're going to be using a cardboard loom that has these pre-cut out notches, and you're going to take your background color string. This string you won't really be able to see when you're done, so you don't really need to worry about your color. You want to have a good bit hanging off the back. And just stick it in the first notch. And then you want to go down to the bottom and pull it through, and you don't need it to be super tight. And you can see we have enough string on the back that we're going to tie it off with, and you're just going to keep going. So this string that I had down here, I'm going to bring it around and over and go in the next notch and back down. So you can see that I'm also doing it on the back because I'm going around with my string over. That'll happen. Try not to do it as much. You can see it building up on the back as well. And just take your time so that we don't destroy these nice looms that we have. Lovely. If you skip, undo it, go back. You absolutely need to have it done on all of these. And try to be careful not to tear the little things off, because I feel like they're not going to last very long, but we'll try to keep them nice. And then you can see on the back, it's almost the exact same as the front, but it's kind of zigzagged a little bit. There's two strings on the back, and we're gonna tie them together. So this is kind of just the same knot as tying your shoe. You don't need to tie it super tight, just as long as it's there. I'll try to do it so you guys can see it. I've got both strings like this. I'm gonna bring the bottom one over the other, make an X, pull it through, just a regular knot like when you tie your shoe. You can double knot it, or you can tie a bow, however you like to do it. As long as it's tied, it'll be good. And you don't really have to worry about this extra string because we're gonna trim it up when we're all done anyway. And so now you've got your loom ready to weave on. And this is called the warp. The strings that you weave on, the strings that you weave with are called a weft. So I've got some strings that are pre-cut. I'll try to have as much of this done for you. Some, you might have to cut some of your own string, but this is a pretty good amount of string. So you've got these plastic needles that are pretty easy for you to thread because the yarn isn't super thick. If you just put the yarn through, most of the time you can just pull it through. If you need to, if it gets like curly like this, you can pull on it and kind of twist it to make it a little bit thinner and push it through. If you're absolutely totally struggling with this, because some people get really frustrated with this, you can put in like a little folded piece of paper, tuck it in there, hold it so this is completely flat, and just stick it through the eye so that you don't have to stress about it. So I am going to tie the string on my needle. I've got both sides right here. This is my short end and this is my long end. I'm going to make an X. See my X, this is my short end. I'm gonna bring the top string, the little string is over the big string, underneath, through the hole, and tie it. This doesn't have to be super tight because you can either cut the string off or you can just untie it when you're to the end of this string. And you're going to go over, under, over, under. And if you did this before, like we did the bowl weaving last year with some of y'all, it's pretty much the same idea of over, under, over, under. So I'm just gonna go ahead and start right at the top. I'm gonna go under, over, under, over, under, over, all the way to the end. And pull it through. Make sure that you don't skip the last one, because this is where you'll probably have to take it out and undo some of them if you miss it, which happens and it's okay. But I'm just gonna leave a little bit off on the end. You don't have to tie this or anything right now. If you just leave it, we'll fix it when we're done. And so you're gonna push this every couple of strings at least, kind of push it up towards the top or the next string so that it makes it tight. You're gonna weave it tight together. And this is very important. You wanna look at the last string on the edge and basically you want the string to go around it to hold on to it. So we went under, we want to go over. So I'm gonna go over this string because I went under it before. So I'm gonna go over, and now you see that it's the opposite of the last one. So that keeps it so that it holds on to itself. And if you accidentally do it the wrong way, or if you accidentally, like if I accidentally go under two of them in a row, it won't hold tight anymore. And you can experiment and kind of see what happens when you do that on your own. If you want, you don't have to like pull the needle through the whole thing, as long as you are keeping up with what you're doing. Don't pull this in too tight. So you want to pull it so that it sits but this guy can hang here and it's not a big deal. So I stopped right here. I want to make sure I'm still on the right pattern. I'm going to go over, under, over, under, over, and pull it through and just push it up. And see how I'm not pulling this tight? If I pull it tight and it starts to go like this, it'll make your weaving look kind of funky at the end. So I want it to be around it, so you want it to be hugging it, but just not quite pulling on it. So I'm going to pull it and push it up, and then I'm going to go over one more time, one or two, however many, until you get to the end of the string that you have. Just keep going, and then we'll tie another string on after that. And you can kind of tell how if you're pushing it together really tightly, my yellow string kind of disappears from my weaving. This is kind of one of those art forms that you either love it or you hate it. I really like fibers. Yarn is a fiber. It's like a fabric, basically. I enjoy this. I think it's fun. It is the way that your clothing is made, just on this is much larger scale. A machine will weave fabrics that are then made and sewn into clothing. A machine will do it with very, very teeny tiny string and do it really, really tight and quickly. And you can do your design however you want. Make a pattern if you'd like. Some people that do this as their job, as their main art form, make kind of pictures in it, which is a little bit difficult to do, but you can choose to do however you want. They'll do like basically making an image kind of pixelated, or like if you would do it on graph paper, so you would have to color in, like each one would be a box, and doing the different colors that way. It looks pretty cool. And so I just want to make sure I'm really squishing these in every now and then. And you can see, I think I did four lines so far. So you can move through it quickly, but it does take a while to actually fill this whole thing out, which is perfectly fine. It'll take us a few days probably to finish this. But even with this one, you could use, if it's filled in all the way, you could take it, fold it in half, and sew up the sides and make a little bag with it, a little pouch, different kinds of things that you can do with this. So I think I'm gonna stop with the purple now because my string I still have enough that I could turn around and weave some, but I want to make sure that I have enough room to tie on. So I tied my knot kind of loosely, so I'm just gonna pull it off because I really don't like to cut the string or waste the string. But if it's tied too tight, you can just cut it off. It's not a big deal. Just be careful not to cut the needle, which it should be hard to cut the needle, but it happens. So I'm gonna take my next piece of string and tie it on to the string that's attached to this still. So this way, I'm gonna do a different kind of knot. I'm gonna hold the strings next to each other, both ends together, wrap it around my finger, make that X and pull the top string underneath. It's a little bit tight, but pull it underneath and pull it through like this, so it forms this little slip knot, and just pull it tight. So this is another thing you might want to clean up when we're done. If you don't want to, you don't have to. It kind of just gives it a different look. And you'll see some examples of that, or I'll try to pull some up so that you're able to see it. So I also want you to be wary about cleanup, because this is something that people want. Like, I'm almost done. Like, let me finish. Can I finish this string? Or can I just tied a new string on. Like, can I do that? But we really need to, this can take a minute to get through it. So if it's time to clean up, it's time to clean up. So like, this, you can leave these strings under here and push them under so that you don't have to cut them off later if you'd like. If you want to pull them through and cut them off, that's fine too. If you want to leave them so that they hang out like this, I think it looks cute. You can do whatever you choose. This is your artwork. But so if I had all this string hanging off and I got right here and it's time to go, like, you don't have to like finish the string or anything. You can just kind of wrap it around your loom. You can take the needle off. I didn't even tie it in a knot. I forgot to tie it in a knot. Take the needle off and we'll put it up, and it's perfectly ready for next week. These strings don't need to be tied or anything, because this is tight enough that it holds it. It won't move or do anything. So you or I will get a piece of masking tape to put on this with your name so that it doesn't, so we don't have to write like on the cardboard loom, because this loom, when we're done, we're gonna take it off of the cardboard piece so that we can use the cardboard piece, and I'll show you guys that later. But I'm gonna put my tape just on my base string, on my yellow string, because we're not gonna need any of that right now. And obviously write, you can't see this, it doesn't matter because this is mine, but write my name, my grade, I'll just put 4th grade, Monday, red table, because as you guys are very aware, this stuff gets put everywhere. Sometimes people go through the cabinets and stuff gets misplaced. This makes sure that it gets back to your exact class and your exact table, even if it ends up in the kindergarten box for Thursday or something. So make sure this is on there and that your name is legible. This totally fine to be hanging around. Just kind of put it on here so it's not hanging straight off, so we don't get them tangled up with each other. And we will continue to work on these, and I will show you when we're getting close to the end how to actually take it off and tie everything up so that it exists on its own.